The power of absence, a Stoic strategy for reclaiming your value. Hey everyone, welcome back to Powerful Stoic Habits. Ever wondered what truly happens when you consciously choose to stop looking for someone, when you withdraw your attention and shift the focus entirely onto yourself? How does that seemingly simple act seismically shift the entire dynamic of your relationship? You're in precisely the right place, because today, we're diving deep into the potent Stoic strategy of deliberately stepping back, of consciously creating space, to allow them to truly realize the magnitude of what they've lost. This isn't about manipulative tactics or playing disingenuous games, it's about wholeheartedly embracing your own immutable worth and then letting that unwavering self-worth speak far louder than any desperate words ever could. As our wise friend once poignantly said, absence makes the heart grow fonder. This succinctly means that sometimes, perhaps even more often than we realize, it's precisely in strategically stepping back that our presence ultimately becomes truly valued, viscerally missed, and deeply appreciated. The 10 profound emotions and realizations they experience when you stop looking. So folks, today we are not just vaguely talking about the concept of stepping back, we're strategically talking about actively reclaiming your power with an intensity that leaves an unforgettable mark on their perception. Imagine, for just a moment, the sheer strength of character it inherently takes to consciously withdraw your readily available attention and laser focus solely on your own multifaceted personal growth. To consciously rise above the incessant noise, the incessant demands, the incessant needs, and to deliberately let your resolute silence eloquently speak volumes. This isn't fundamentally about just fleetingly making them feel your absence, it's profoundly about transforming yourself into someone so inherently resilient, so undeniably self-assured, and so completely independent that they can't help but viscerally feel the gaping void you've so resolutely left behind. Each meticulously crafted principle we delve into today serves as a solid stepping stone toward consciously becoming someone who confidently commands respect, undoubtedly earns admiration, and is so achingly deeply missed not simply because they superficially disappeared from someone's life, but because they've transformed into someone exponentially more powerful in their poignant absence. This is your defining moment to proactively rise above the situation, to resolutely show both them and yourself that your inherent worth is genuinely beyond measure. Before we dive into these 10 transformative points, let's strategically start with a thought experiment that will solidly lay the unshakable foundation for everything that's about to follow. This particular section is critically important, so please, I implore you, don't skip ahead, invest your valuable time in thoughtfully considering every point. Actively imagine, if you will, that you are the radiant sun in someone's carefully constructed life. You inherently provide the comforting warmth that consistently brightens their day, the energizing fuel that powers their overall happiness, and the steady, unwavering support that buoys them through any turbulent storms. Now, carefully picture in your mind what happens when that essential sun suddenly, unexpectedly disappears from their carefully curated sky. The world abruptly becomes noticeably colder, a little bit dimmer, and undeniably less vibrant. The once readily available, readily taken for granted warmth is now suddenly a distant, fading memory, and the profound absence is inherently felt more deeply with each seemingly endless passing day. What do you inherently think happens next in this scenario? Do they simply shrug their shoulders, nonchalantly move on, and find a flimsy replacement to bask in, or do they slowly begin to truly realize the significant value of what they've so carelessly lost? Now, carefully consider someone significant in your own personal life who used to be an indispensable part of your intricately constructed daily routine, perhaps a close friend, a long-term romantic partner, a supportive family member, or even just a trusted colleague. Think carefully about how frequently you used to deliberately interact with them, the fleeting little check-in texts, the quick, light-hearted phone calls, the casual, spur-of-the-moment encounters. Now, intimately imagine that all of those habitual interactions suddenly, unexpectedly stop, not necessarily because of a heated disagreement or a painful argument, but simply because you made the deliberate, empowering decision to actively step back and finally resolutely focus on yourself. How do you inherently think they would consciously feel in this situation? What profound thoughts would relentlessly run through their mind as the seemingly endless days slowly pass and the habitual conversations unexpectedly cease? Would they genuinely miss you, or would they barely notice your conspicuous absence? Would they genuinely start to internally wonder where you've abruptly gone and perhaps, more importantly, why you've consciously gone silent? Now, at this point, you might inevitably be instinctively wondering, if someone consciously chooses to walk away and then actively becomes increasingly absent from my carefully constructed life, isn't there a very real chance that they will eventually completely forget about me entirely? Isn't there a concrete possibility that my prolonged absence will simply push them even further away, to the point where they may move on without giving me a second thought? This is certainly a valid concern, one that acutely echoes within many of our deepest fears, but it's critically important to inherently understand that this strategic strategy fundamentally isn't about passively disappearing completely from someone's life. It's absolutely not about inexplicably vanishing from their meticulously constructed radar to the point where they nonchalantly move on without even a lingering second thought. Instead, it's consciously about deliberately creating a subtle yet undeniably powerful shift in the intricate dynamics of your inherently complicated relationship. By strategically stepping back from the daily interactions, you're not fundamentally removing yourself entirely, you're artfully creating precious space for them to deliberately reflect, space for them to truly realize, and space for them to consciously feel the immense impact of your noticeably missing presence. This conscious choice to temporarily step back isn't strategically about being actively absent forever, it's strategically about carefully making your inherent presence felt even more profoundly by consciously stepping away just far enough to allow them to clearly understand what their life would viscerally be like without you actively in it. Think of this complicated dynamic like a breathtakingly beautiful painting. Sometimes strategically stepping back from the carefully constructed canvas is exactly what you fundamentally need to consciously see the vibrant full picture and genuinely appreciate its undeniable true value. That is precisely the core message of our thoughtful discussion today. We're absolutely not actively talking about passively playing manipulative, hard-to-get games. We're consciously talking about deliberately wielding the indisputable transformative power of consciously creating space. When you finally consciously choose to stop passively looking for someone, when you actively choose to deliberately pull back your valuable time, your unwavering energy, and your steadfast attention, something genuinely profound begins to occur. The complex, often unbalanced, dynamics of your carefully constructed relationship begin to acutely shift, the way they begin to perceive you suddenly begins to subtly change, and in that monumental shift, they inevitably begin to viscerally feel the weighty impact of your absence, perhaps far more intensely than you could have ever consciously imagined. Think meticulously about the last time you inadvertently lost something inherently valuable to you, maybe a favorite piece of delicate jewelry that held sentimental meaning, or a cherished, irreplaceable memento that reminded you of a long-gone loved one. Consciously remember the sharp pang of sudden loss, the lingering regret of not genuinely appreciating that precious item more completely while it was still safely in your possession. This is fundamentally the exact same constellation of deeply felt emotions that inevitably begins to slowly creep into the easily impressionable minds of those individuals who carelessly took your unwavering presence for granted. The crucial difference, of course, is that unlike that already permanently lost item, you inherently possess the conscious power to strategically choose when, or perhaps even if, you re-enter their carefully constructed lives. So, before we carefully jump into the 10 impactful points that will systematically break down exactly what they inherently feel when you consciously choose to stop looking for them, take a fleeting moment to thoughtfully reflect on your own deeply personal experiences. Consciously think about the specific times in your own life when someone's purposeful absence has inherently made you suddenly realize their indisputable true value. What raw emotions did you consciously experience? What persistent thoughts relentlessly lingered in your mind? Deliberately hold on to those acutely felt feelings and emotions, because they are the key to fundamentally understanding precisely what happens on the other side of the carefully constructed dynamic, when you finally resolutely decide to purposefully take a conscious step back. Now, let's meticulously unravel the 10 powerful emotions and profound realizations they're highly likely to consciously experience when you resolutely stop looking for them, allowing them to truly experience your deliberate absence. Emotion/realization number 1, the shock of silence. So folks, let's dive into the first thing that might hit them when you suddenly become absent: the shock of silence. Imagine this scenario: you've always been there, the reliable one, the person who texts first, who makes the plans, who checks in just to see how their day is going. But one day you decide to step back, you don't send that morning text, you don't initiate plans, and suddenly there's a noticeable silence. It's like walking into a room where the music has just stopped. There's an immediate sense that something's missing. This silence, though, isn't just about the absence of your messages or your presence. It's a deeper kind of shock that happens when someone realizes that the rhythm of their day, the comfort of knowing you're there, has suddenly changed. They might not have consciously acknowledged it before, but your presence was a constant, like background music, that they had come to rely on even if they didn't fully appreciate it. Now here's where the shock really sets in. They begin to wonder, what happened? Why aren't they reaching out? Did I do something wrong? This sudden shift catches them off guard, and it's this disruption of the norm that starts to make them question things. The silence becomes loud, almost deafening, and in that quiet space they begin to feel the impact of your absence. It's important to remember what Rumi once said: the quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. In this case, the quieter you become, the more they start to hear the echo of your absence in there. Life. They might have taken your presence for granted, assuming you'd always be there, but now that you've stepped back, they're forced to confront what life is like without you in it. Now you might be thinking, but what if they don't care? What if my presence wasn't that significant to them in the first place? This is a valid concern, and it's a question that many of us fear. But here's the thing: if they really don't care, if your absence doesn't cause even a ripple, then that tells you something important. It tells you that maybe, just maybe, this relationship wasn't as meaningful as you thought. And while that can be tough to face, it's also a form of clarity that's invaluable. Imagine you're at a concert and one of the instruments suddenly stops playing. If the music continues without any noticeable difference, it means that instrument wasn't integral to the performance. But if the absence leaves a noticeable gap, if the music feels incomplete without it, then you know just how important that instrument was. The same goes for relationships. If your absence doesn't make a difference, then perhaps you weren't playing the role you thought you were, and that's okay, because it allows you to move forward with a clearer understanding of where you truly stand. However, in most cases the shock of silence does make a difference. It shakes things up, it forces them to confront their feelings, and it often leads to a deeper appreciation of the role you played in their life. They start to realize that your presence was more than just a convenience, it was a source of comfort, stability, and connection. And as they sit with that realization, you'll find that your absence will start speaking for you, echoing in their thoughts and making them understand just how much they miss having you around. This shock of silence can be a powerful wake-up call for them, and it's the first step in shifting the dynamics of your relationship. It's a moment where they're forced to take stock, to reflect on what they had, and to realize that maybe, just maybe, they took you for granted. And in that realization, the seeds of longing and appreciation begin to grow. Emotion/realization number 2, realization of your value. So let's move on to the second thing they might experience when you become absent: the realization of your value. Imagine this: after the initial shock of your silence sets in, they begin to adjust to the new normal. But as the days go by, something starts to gore at them, a subtle yet persistent feeling that something important is missing. It's not just about the absence of your texts or your calls. It's about the absence of you, your energy, your support, your unique way of making their day a little bit brighter. This is where the realization of your value starts to kick in. You see, in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, it's easy to take people for granted, especially those who are always there, always giving. But when you suddenly step back, when you're no longer pouring your energy into the relationship, they begin to notice the void you've left behind. It's like removing a key piece from a puzzle. Suddenly the picture doesn't look complete anymore. They start to realize just how much you were contribute, and not just in big obvious ways, but in the little everyday things that made their life richer. As the days pass, they might find themselves missing the way you listened to them, the advice you offered, the laughter you shared. They begin to see that your presence wasn't just a background noise in their life, it was a melody that added depth and meaning to their days. And now that melody is gone, leaving behind a stark, uncomfortable silence. This realization often leads to a deeper reflection on their part. They start to ask themselves questions: why did I take them for granted? What was it about them that made my life better? And as they reflect, they begin to see your true value. Perhaps for the first time, they start to understand that you weren't just filling space in their life, you were adding something meaningful, something they can't easily replace. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're at a restaurant, and you've ordered your favorite dish. You've had it so many times that you Don't even think about how good it is anymore, it's just your go-to meal, but one day you decide to try something new and it's just not the same. Suddenly you realize just how much you love that favorite dish, how much it satisfied you, how it hit the spot in a way nothing else could. That's what happens when you step back. They realize that nothing else quite compares to what you brought into their life. This realization of your value isn't just a fleeting thought, it's something that can profoundly change how they see you and the relationship. They start to recognize that you were a steady source of positivity, of support, of joy, and now that you're not there, they see the impact of your absence everywhere. It's in the small moments of their day when they would have reached out to you, in the challenges they face without your comforting words, and the laughs they miss sharing with you. As Albert Einstein once said, strive not to be a success but rather to be of value. In stepping back, you're giving them the space to recognize your true value. You're showing them that your presence was a gift, not something to be taken lightly, and in doing so you're allowing them to see what they had and what they've lost. So as they sit with this realization, you'll find that your absence will start speaking for you. It will speak of your worth, your impact, and the irreplaceable role you played in their life, and that realization can be powerful enough to make them want you back, to reach out and to reconnect. This time with a deeper appreciation for everything you bring to the table. Emotion/realization number 3, the void of your presence. Now let's delve into the third experience they're likely to face when you become absent, the void of your presence. After the shock of silence and the realization of your value comes the unsettling awareness of the void you've left behind. This isn't just about missing your texts or your phone calls, it's about the deep emptiness that your absence creates in their life. Suddenly all those little things you did, the thoughtful gestures, the way you listened, the comfort of knowing you were always there, are glaringly absent, and that absence feels like a huge gap. Imagine this: they go through their daily routine, but now something is off. The usual text they receive from you in the morning doesn't come. The inside jokes you used to share feel hollow when there's no one to laugh with, and the comfort of knowing you're there to talk things through is gone. It's as if the emotional safety net they didn't even realize they had has been pulled away, leaving them to navigate their days without the support they had grown accustomed to. This void is profound because it's not just about the things you did, but about who you are. Your presence brought a certain warmth, a sense of connection that they can't easily replace, and now in your absence, they feel that emptiness more keenly than they might have expected. It's like walking into a room that used to be filled with light and warmth only to find it cold and dark. That emptiness is your void, and it's something they can't ignore. As they navigate this new reality, they might find themselves trying to fill that void, perhaps by reaching out to others or distracting themselves with other activities, but deep down they know that nothing quite fits the space you occupied. Your presence was unique, and now that it's gone, there's a noticeable gap in their life. This void isn't just a reminder of what they had, it's a constant nudge that they've lost something important, something that made their life better. As the French philosopher Voltaire once said, the art of being happy lies in the power of extracting happiness from common things. Your presence added value to those common things, and now without you those things don't bring the same joy. So as they sit with the void of your presence, you'll find that your absence will start speaking for you. It will remind them daily of what's missing, of the light and warmth that's no longer there, and in that void they might just realize that what's missing isn't just anyone, it's you. Emotion/realization number 4, the rise of curiosity. So folks, that was the third thing they might feel, the void of your presence. Before we move on to the fourth, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What questions are running through your mind right now? Throw them out in the comments. I'm here to help you navigate through this journey, and if everything's clear so far, hit that thumbs up, like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now let's get ready to unravel the next thing they might feel, which is even more impactful. So you definitely don't want to miss it. Stick around because we're just getting to the heart of how your absence can make a profound difference in their life. Now let's dive into the fourth thing they might feel when you become absent, the rise of curiosity. After the initial shock of silence, the realization of your value, and the uncomfortable void of your presence, something intriguing begins to happen. They start to get curious. This curiosity isn't just about where you've gone or why you're not reaching out. It's a deeper, more compelling need to understand what's going on in your world now that you're no longer a constant presence in theirs. Imagine this: they're scrolling through their phone and suddenly they notice they haven't heard from you in days, maybe even weeks. Questions start to bubble up in their mind. What are they up to? Are they okay? Are they moving on without me? This curiosity can quickly turn into a fascination as they begin to wonder about all the things they don't know they might Even start checking your social media, trying to get a glimpse of what's happening in your life, piecing together clues to satisfy that growing curiosity. This rise of curiosity is powerful because it's a sign that they're beginning to see you in a new light. When you were always available, always there, they didn't need to wonder about you, they knew exactly where you were and what you were doing. But now that you've stepped back, there's a mystery around you, a sense of intrigue that pulls them in, making them want to know more. It's like reading a book and suddenly realizing you don't know what's going to happen next. That uncertainty, that unknown, becomes irresistible. As the philosopher Aristotle once said, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. This quote perfectly captures the rise of curiosity. They start to realize how much they took for granted, how much they didn't really know about you, and now, with your absence, they're eager to fill in those gaps, to understand what's happening beneath the surface. Curiosity can be a powerful motivator. It can drive them to reach out, to try and reconnect, to rediscover who you are and what you're up to, and in this process they begin to see you not just as the person they once knew, but as someone who is constantly evolving, growing and becoming more intriguing with each passing day. So as this curiosity rises within them, you'll find that your absence will start speaking for you in ways that draw them closer even though you've stepped back. It's a subtle but powerful shift here. The mystery of your absence becomes a magnet pulling them in as they seek to understand the person you're becoming, someone who is more than they ever realized. Emotion/realization number 5, the growth of longing. Now let's explore the fifth thing they might feel when you become absent, the growth of longing. After curiosity begins to take hold, something even deeper starts to develop, a sense of longing. This isn't just a fleeting desire to hear from you or see you again. It's a growing, persistent feeling that builds over time. The more they wonder about you, the more they start to miss you, not just your presence, but everything that made your relationship special. Imagine this: they're going about their day, but every little thing reminds them of you, a song that used to play in the background when you were together, a place you both used to visit, or even just a random phrase that triggers a memory of something you said. These small reminders accumulate, creating a sense of yearning that's hard to ignore. It's not just about the big moments, it's the little things, the everyday interactions that they start to miss the most. Longing is powerful because it grows in the spaces where connection used to be. As the days go by without hearing from you, without feeling your presence, that longing intensifies. It's like trying to quench a thirst that just won't go away. They begin to realize that they don't just miss having someone around, they miss you specifically in a way that's deep and personal. As the French writer Marcel Pr once said, the real voyage of discovery assists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. This longing gives them a new perspective on what you meant to them. They start to see the relationship in a different light, appreciating all the things they may have overlooked before. So as this longing grows within them, your absence will start speaking for you in the form of an undeniable pull, one that makes them crave the connection they once had with you, realizing in just how much they truly miss it. Emotion/realization number 6, the sting of regret. Now let's delve into the sixth thing they might feel when you become absent, the sting of regret. As the curiosity deepens and the longing for you grows stronger, another powerful emotion begins to take root: regret. This isn't just a passing thought or a mild sense of what if. It's a sharp, painful realization that they may have taken you for granted, that they didn't fully appreciate you when they had the chance, and that realization can sting. Imagine this: they're sitting alone reflecting on the times you spent together. Suddenly it hits them, those moments when you reached out, offered support, or made sacrifices that they didn't fully recognize at the time. Maybe they brushed off your concern, ignored your efforts, or simply assumed you'd always be there no matter what. But now in your absence they see those moments with fresh eyes, and the weight of their actions or inactions begins to press down on them. Regret often comes with a series of if only thoughts. If only they had been more attentive, if only they had reciprocated your efforts, if only they had valued you as much as you deserved. These thoughts can be painful because they're tied to missed opportunities, chances to show you how much you meant to them, to build a stronger connection, or to fix issues before they became too big to ignore. This sting of regret isn't just about feeling sorry, it's about realizing that they let something valuable slip through their fingers. They start to wonder how things might have been different if they had acted differently, if they had put in the effort to nurture the relationship instead of taking it for granted. It's a sobering realization, and it often leaves them with a sense of loss that's hard to shake. Regret, as the philosopher Søren Kard once noted, is a sharp-edged sword, not always useful but always felt. This emotion cuts deep because it's tied to the irreversible nature of the past. They can't go back and change what's been done, and that can lead to a feeling of helplessness and sorrow. However, regret can also be a catalyst for change. It can prompt them to reevaluate their priorities, to recognize the importance of what they've lost, and to strive to make amends if possible. The sting of regret is often What pushes them to reach out to apologize or to try and rekindle what's been lost? So as this regret takes hold, your absence will start speaking for you in a voice that says you should have valued me when you had the chance. It's a powerful realization that can motivate them to reflect deeply on their actions and perhaps seek to make things right before it's too late. Emotion/realization number 7, the intrigue of mystery. Let's move on to the 7th thing they might feel when you become absent: the intrigue of mystery. As your absence lingers, something interesting begins to happen. They start to see you through a new lens, one shrouded in mystery. When you were always available, they knew what to expect from you, but now that you've stepped back, you've become a bit of an enigma, and this mystery is incredibly intriguing. Imagine this: they realize they don't know what you're up to anymore. You're no longer sharing your daily thoughts, your plans, or your feelings. Suddenly you're not as predictable as you once were, and this unpredictability sparks their curiosity even further. They start to wonder, what are you doing? Who are you spending time with? What new things are you exploring without them? This intrigue of mystery is powerful because it flips the dynamic. Instead of you being the one constantly reaching out and sharing, you've become someone they want to figure out, someone whose life they're no longer privy to. It's like when a favorite character in a story suddenly becomes more complex and multi-layered. Your absence adds depth to how they perceive you, making them want to know more. As the novelist and poet Oscar Wilde said, the truth is rarely pure and never simple. This idea captures the essence of mystery. You've become more than just the person they thought they knew. You're now someone with layers, someone with a life that continues to evolve, even without the minute. It's so as this sense of mystery grows, your absence will start speaking for you in subtle but powerful ways. It will make them wonder about the new dimensions of your life, drawing them in with the intrigue of discovering who you've become in their absence. Emotion/realization number 8, the power of reflection. Let's dive into the 8th thing they might feel when you become absent: the power of reflection. After experiencing the shock of silence, the growing curiosity, and the sting of regret, they inevitably arrive at a place of deep reflection. This isn't just a quick passing thought, it's a period where they begin to really think about the relationship, about you, and about themselves. Your absence gives them the space to reflect on everything that has happened, what worked, what didn't, and most importantly, what they may have overlooked. Imagine this: they find themselves alone with their thoughts, replaying memories of your time together. They think about the conversations you had, the support you offered, and the moments when they might not have given you the attention or appreciation you deserved. This reflection often brings clarity. They start to see the relationship not just for what it was but for what it could have been if they had invested more effort, more care, or more understanding. Reflection is a powerful tool because it allows them to see things from a different perspective. They begin to recognize their own shortcomings, times when they were too focused on themselves, too caught up in their own world to see how much you were contributing to theirs. It's during this period that they might realize that they didn't just miss out on your presence, they missed out on the opportunity to build something even stronger with you. This reflection can also bring about a sense of self-awareness. They start to see patterns in their behavior, perhaps recognizing that they've made similar mistakes in past relationships. It's a moment of personal growth where they begin to understand that your absence is more than just a temporary gap. It's a chance for them to learn and potentially to change. As the philosopher Socrates famously said, the unexamined life is not worth living. This period of reflection pushes them to examine not only their, but also their choices and how those choices have impacted their relationships. It's a time of introspection that can lead to a deeper understanding of themselves and of you. So as they immerse themselves in this reflective state, your absence will start speaking for you in ways that provoke thought, foster growth, and encourage them to truly appreciate the value of what they had. It's through reflection that they might come to realize that their life was richer with you in it, and that the lessons learned from your absence could lead to meaningful changes should they have the chance to reconnect with you. Emotion/realization number 9, the magnetism of self-sufficiency. Let's dive into the 10th thing they might feel when you become absent: the magnetism of self-sufficiency. As they navigate the void left by your absence, something intriguing happens. They begin to see you in a new light. You're no longer the person who was always available, always giving, always there at the drop of a hat. Instead, you become someone who is independent, self-sufficient, and strong on your own. And let me tell you, this newfound self-sufficiency is incredibly magnetic. Imagine this: they see that you're not falling apart without them. In fact, you're thriving, you're pursuing your passions, engaging in activities that make you happy, and generally living your best life. This realization can be a game changer for them. Suddenly you're not just the person they used to know, you're someone who has grown, evolved, and become even more compelling in their absence. There's something inherently attractive about a person who doesn't need validation from others to feel complete. When they see you Embracing your self-sufficiency, it challenges their previous perceptions of you. They might have thought that you depended on them for your happiness, but now they see that you're perfectly capable of creating your own joy regardless of whether they're in the picture or not. This self-sufficiency can stir a mix of emotions in them. On one hand, they might feel a pang of regret for not appreciating your strength earlier. On the other hand, they might find themselves drawn to you, even more fascinated by your ability to stand tall on your own. It's as if you become a beacon of independence, radiating confidence and self-assuredness, and that's something they can't ignore. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, self-reliance is the height of man. Your self-sufficiency isn't just about being independent, it's about embodying a level of maturity and inner strength that is undeniably attractive. They start to see that you're not just surviving without them, you're thriving, and that makes them realize just how much they underestimated your resilience and capability. This magnetism of self-sufficiency can lead them to question their own sense of self. They may start to reflect on whether they've been too reliant on others for their own happiness, and whether they could learn a thing or two from your approach to life. Your ability to flourish independently becomes a silent reminder that true strength comes from within, and that's something they may now admire in you more than ever before. So, as they witness your self-efficiency, your absence will start speaking for you in a way that showcases your strength, resilience, and independence. It will make them realize that you're not just someone who can stand on your own, you're someone who can shine on your own, and that kind of self-reliance is not just admirable, it's magnetic. Emotion/realization number 10, the desire for reconnection. After going through the shock of silence, the realization of your value, the void of your presence, and the magnetism of your newfound self-sufficiency, they're likely to find themselves at a crossroads. All of these emotions, curiosity, longing, regret, reflection, build up to a powerful desire to reconnect with you. Imagine this: they've spent days, weeks, maybe even months reflecting on what they had with you, and what they've lost. The more they think about it, the clearer it becomes that your absence has created a void that nothing else seems to fill. The people they've met, the distractions they've tried to immerse themselves in, none of it compares to the connection they had with you. This realization leads to an intense desire to bridge the gap, to reach out and to bring you back into their life. This desire for reconnect tie-in isn't just about missing the good times, it's about recognizing that the relationship with you was unique, something they can't easily replicate with someone else. They begin to understand that their life was better with you in it, that the connection they shared with you brought them a sense of completeness, joy, and fulfillment that they now yearn to experience again. But here's the kicker: this desire for reconnection is fueled by the person you've become. In their absence, they're not just drawn back to the person they knew, they were intrigued by the stronger, more self-assured version of you that has emerged. Your independence, your resilience, and your ability to thrive on your own have made you even more appealing. They now see you as someone who isn't just desirable because of the past you shared, but because of the growth and transformation you've undergone since then. As they sit with this desire, they might start to imagine what it would be like to reconnect, to rebuild the relationship on new, stronger foundations. They might picture the conversations you could have now, the shared experiences that would be richer with the wisdom you've both gained. This desire for reconnection becomes a powerful motivator, pushing them to reach out, to apologize, or to express what they've learned and how they've changed. As American author F. Scott Fitzgerald once wrote, "There are all kinds of love in this world, but never the same love twice." They realize that what they had with you was special, and the possibility of rekindling that connection, of creating something new and even better, becomes an irresistible pull. So as this desire for a reconnection grows, your absence will start speaking for you in the form of a compelling urge to rebuild what was lost. They'll find themselves drawn to you not just because of who you were, but because of who you've become, and in that desire they'll see that reconnecting with you might be the only way to fill the void that your absence has left behind. The unspoken power of absence: reclaiming yourself and redefining the relationship. Thanks for tuning in. If you found value in this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who could benefit from these insights. And hey, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below with "My absence will speak for me," and let's keep the conversation going. Your engagement helps us grow and continue bringing you powerful content. See you in the next video. In summary, when you step back and stop looking for someone, they experience a range of powerful emotions: the shock of silence, realization of your value, the void of your presence, the rise of curiosity, the growth of longing, the sting of regret, the intrigue of mystery, the power of reflection, the magnetism of self-sufficiency, and ultimately, the desire for reconnection. By focusing on yourself and allowing your absence to speak, you reclaim your power and redefine the dynamic of the relationship. This journey is about self-worth and not manipulation.